We keep it 100. Hey, country cousin. We keep it 100.
This is For Do Right Gov, and we're bringing in a new segment with the kid over there. Don't introduce yourself.
What's going on, man? It's FCC. What's happening?
We call him Wolf Blitzer, though.
Don't call me Wolf.
Actually, my man Tucker Carlson been going hard lately.
That with the stupid ass faces he be making. Like the Black Steve Kornacki, this shit, man. Without the cocaine jumping around and shit. Super hype.
We trying to intro a new segment, and you know, this is this guy's level of expertise, one of his expert fields. He a smart motherfucker like Brad.
Hilarious.
So we're gonna call this. What's the name you coined for it?
I'm gonna call politics shouldn't be that hard. We're gonna start with that. We're gonna run with that.
Politics ain't hard.
Really?
I'm gonna put a little twist to it. You know, I'm gonna dumb it down even more. Politics ain't hard. So,
and obviously, we got a lot of politics to talk about right now. This shit isn't.
Can we start with the elephant in the room?
We can definitely start with that, for sure.
Because I want to talk about Kooky Loke, aka Ashley Babin. Put her in a box.
Bruh.
Damn.
I've seen so many crazy ass memes. I think some of the best ones was the ones one of the ones I sent y'all where she got to break into the Capitol and meet Ronald Reagan the same day. Another one was she flew all the way to DC and got shipped back home by UPS. I mean, the Goody Mob one, when they put, you know, the actual video footage of her getting shot to the who's that peeking through my window.
I got one for you. I got one. I was actually about to post it, so I'm gonna save it for this segment. It was because she was talking shit to Camelot Harris.
Yes, yes.
Calling them, you know, oh, we're the ISIS of KKK or whatever. Where you at, Kamala? Blah blah blah. And then it hit her with the SpongeBob. 3 days later.
I seen somebody call old girl Osama bin Karen. I had to close out for the day.
I'll say this. As a member of the Black community, we have usually not been invested in politics, but Twitter will draw you into some shit that you never knew you had interest in.
It will, man. It's the gift and the curse of it.
The entertainment of it makes you have, you have to at least know what's going on to be like, oh, I get it. So again, January 6th, a day that will go down in white infamy.
Yes. Give
me your 3-minute breakdown of 3-minute assessment of how we got here, why the quote unquote Antifa Trump mob, people will call them trumpets, whatever the name is. What was the point of it? What did they expect to gain? And why they were not laid out like a wide receiver going across the middle with Sean Taylor about to hit.
Man, vanilla ISIS, what can you say? So how they got there is, Senator from Texas, Senator from Missouri, from Texas, Ted Cruz, the same cat that Trump told him his wife was ugly, that he, all on his nuts now. Josh Hawley, who's from the senator from Missouri, Harvard Law, Yale Law, whatever else, was a law professor, all this other shit, had all these credentials. They convincing these folks that Mike Pence, the vice president, could actually overturn the election. He could go against the Electoral College and overturn the election because he's the one who actually receives these Electoral College votes. So they had all of them like super hyped up that, they was playing this 3D chess and this was gonna happen yesterday. Leading up to this, the 2 days before, Pence, Trump had Pence at the White House pretty much, leaning on him. The mobs to lean on him like, look, yo, you gotta do this for me, essentially. And Pence is pretty much like, yo, I can't do what you asking me to do. Like, there's no way for me to do it. Like, there's no shifty way for me to do it. There is no, like, I can't just outright do it. Like, what you asking me to do is impossible. You're asking me to go against, certified electoral college votes. And essentially, to break that down a little bit, is you, the people, go to the polls, you vote. Your state tabulates all those votes and says, okay, we got this many number of votes for this particular candidate or whatever else. And then they set up the electors. And the electors say, okay, well, cool. We as a state have X number of votes for our state. So we're going to say 55. We'll use California as an example. California has 55 electoral college votes. So when they tabulate all the votes in the state and they say, okay, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, they got the majority of the votes here in California, we're going to give them 55 electoral college votes. So somebody stands on the chamber of Congress, they read it off, they say, okay, this looks good, this looks legitimate. State of California decides they're going to give their electoral college votes to these candidates.
Quick interjection. I got two things. I got an ignorant analogy, and then I have a legit thing that I found out this year. Ignorant analogy, you said Trump was leaning on Pence all week. I kind of likened it to Game of Thrones when the city was on fire. Because Cersei, she was trying to come out the woodworks with whatever she had left. She's like, I am not going down without a fight. Coked out Tony Montana style, right? Two, I didn't realize there are a few states that split electoral votes until this year.
Yeah. Nebraska, Maine, or Delaware, if I'm not mistaken.
A couple smaller ones. I think the most one of those states was like 7. But that was one of the, I'm fucking almost 40 years old, and this is where we're at.
But because of the electoral college, you really don't, most people don't really understand the electoral college. It's overcomplicated, and that's another reason why Democrats have been like, yo, we really can get rid of this and go with the popular vote, because the Democrats have won, I think, the popular vote 7 of the last 9 elections or something like that.
And that's the reason why the Republicans probably don't want to get rid of it.
Exactly.
Because the Electoral College was established back, 1800s,
something like that. Yeah.
1850.
And it was established to pretty much for kind of like the reasons why we don't really never paid attention to it, or like the example you just gave as far as like the splitting of the votes. It was established to give those smaller states to try to give them equal, or equitable, to use the corporate buzzword that's going around now, stake in nominating a president. So, it was like, okay, Pennsylvania, you much larger than a Delaware or whatever else, or New York State, you much larger than, whoever else. So we got to give you, equal opportunity to weigh in on who the president is.
Even though that shit is now, you still got states like Ohio and Iowa that have more votes than, Nevada or fucking Washington or something.
Right.
So that alone should tell you how fucked up it is.
Right. And that's the things about, since you mentioning that, that's a perfect segue into why certain states are important, like them quote unquote swing states like Ohio or Florida. And that's typically because, or actually Florida isn't so much a swing state anymore, but you have your Ohio's, your Pennsylvania's, your Michigan's, because those states can kind of go either way. As we've seen, Ohio, Michigan, those states went for Trump in 2016, but they swung back to Biden in 2020. So you have a lot of moderate people, or you have a kind of an even split of Democrats and Republicans, and whoever gets convinced more out of that group ends up swinging that state to that candidate. So,
all right, 2 days ago, they were starting the readings. Next thing you know, Duck Dynasty breaks through the gate.
Duck Dynasty for sure. Yesterday they started it. So they started it yesterday. You got your objections. So you got these, the people who object to these and say these votes they're not good, or we got a reason why we don't agree with these votes. They get to sit up and say what they say. So in the middle of this, while they talking about Arizona, is when Duck Dynasty Bass Pro Shop invasion took place, or whatever else. And the fucked up thing about it was, obviously, the major elephant in the room is the fact of, if it had been some black folks, you would have saw a completely different type of reaction to all of this.
we saw a completely different type of reaction 6 months ago.
Right, exactly. In the exact same location, you saw a militarized force and everything else. So that's the excuse that they're trying to run with now, right? Is we had no idea this was going to happen. You know, they're trying to say, well, we reacted that way during the summer during the Black Lives Matter protests because we knew what was going to happen. We saw everything that was going on around the country. We had days of protests, whatever.
They had intel.
Right.
So how could they not get intel when they was just at the New Year's party with all these people who are their cousins who stormed the gates? I mean,
or when the orange man in the White House, you know,
he tweeted out January 6th, right?
Right. He told them, we'll see you on January 6th. It's going to be a while. When he said this like a few weeks ago or like a couple months ago.
He said it again before New Year.
And then on all of their Vanilla Ice's communication platforms, Parler and the Donald.com, all that type of shit, they've been talking about it. They've been talking about how they're going to come to Washington on the 6th. They plan on coming on during their inauguration as well. So it's like there's been plenty of intel about what could potentially happen.
All right. I want to ask a hypothetical.
Okay.
Before we get to yesterday, continue with yesterday. If this happens in 2 weeks at the inauguration, how many people getting fucked up?
A lot more. And there's a reason why. So the chick who got killed yesterday, and that's the thing that I don't think a lot of people realize and know. You got the Capitol Police, who was like a specialized police force specifically for the Capitol. But you also have Secret Service folks and people who are inside that building because you got active, you know, Speaker of the House, and you got all these important congressional people in there. So we saw videos and we saw footage of like the black cop being chased up the steps. He trying to hold the people off or, you know, delay them until they can get everything barricaded. Completely different. You run at somebody from the Secret Service like that, or you run at one of these suits like that, they smoking you. They're not gonna talk to you. They're not gonna give you a warning. They shooting first. And if anybody has seen the video of old girl getting shot, when she stepped through that window, she got shot by one of the suits. He stepped up and immediately dropped her because that's what their function is. They don't know what your intentions are, or I'm just a, you know, blah, blah, blah. It ain't none of that. You running up, you getting put down. That's what happened. So I think a lot of people don't realize that because it's not very clear to a lot of folks who shot her. They think, oh, it was just Capitol Police who shot her. Well, I mean, maybe they part of Capitol Police, but they got them suits on. So I think everybody has seen the Secret Service. They be suited up and everything else, but you've seen them little mini Macs and everything else that they take and fold up out of them suit jackets. That's what they do. They for real trained to go, and they gonna lay you down if you run up. So
the, you know, it will be a much bigger Secret Service presence at an inauguration. I mean, because it could be a potential non-white terrorist event, you know, because these white ones can happen any day. Nothing happens. Nobody gets arrested. How many people end up getting killed yesterday? First I saw it was 4, then I saw it was like 19 or something.
5 people died altogether. So 5 people died as of earlier today. 68, 70 people got arrested, and the mayor of DC and the FBI are still looking for and circulating pictures because they plan on handing out charges to everybody who barefaced and took selfies and all this other crazy shit when they ran up in there. But yes, 5 people have officially died. So
are those local crimes or federal crimes? I mean, you're on a federal
because of the location of the Capitol building itself. So I mean, I don't know. I'm gonna give you my theory when we kind of get towards the end of this of what this really was. But yeah, I mean, it was just dumb, man. Like the one cat who worked in Maryland who wore his work badge, and he barefaced out there. Like, I mean, he got his face shown, he got his work badge still on his neck. Like, bro, what are you thinking about?
Did you see the Michigan? I don't know. I say he's a governor, but Michigan,
the politician, the rep, yeah,
the House rep, I guess he was.
It was like I think they said it was like 5 or 6 like Republican House representatives, like who was part of the Vanilla Isis. Like,
What are y'all doing?
right? What are you doing? And the one dude, he actually videoed himself and posted it on his social media, and then figured, oh well, I just take it down. Like
It's
bro,
out there.
when it hit the internet, it's out there. It ain't going nowhere.
Another guy was like, "That's my son. I'm so proud of him." And then he was like, "The FBI is contacting me." Well, no shit.
You delete it.
You're aiding and abetting the witness.
Well, you just you just verified that you know this man.
Where he at? Where he work at? Where little Johnny work at today?
Since Social Security number.
Never mind, we got it. Well, ironically, I was watching Snowden last week. And you know, all the shit that he was basically trying to leak and still out here on the run. Like, could this shit have happened if it was black people?
Oh, bro. They would have never gotten as far. It just wouldn't have. It would have been, they would have had to literally overrun the Capitol Police, the ones who actually, you know, opened up the gates and let everybody in and was like, oh, y'all just go ahead, come on right on in. They'd had to overrun them in order to get that far. And had they got that far, the National Guard would have immediately been this. Matter of fact, I believe they wouldn't have even called the National Guard. They probably would have called active army in and like sent the infantry head busters, like flew them in from like North Carolina, Fort Bragg or somewhere. Like they would have went super crazy.
Wait, you said head busters. Did you see the night shift? The night shift wasn't playing.
It's different. They gave no fucks, bro.
Somebody said there's no HR if you work on a night shift. They ain't filing no complaints. They came through with hammers.
Right. They was getting a taste of what they was doing to us out there, man.
Speaking of that, I enjoyed so much how black people just sat back like,
hey. let them fight, bro. It's like that meme.
All right. What's next?
So essentially at 2:40 a.m. Central Time, because you know I stayed up and I actually watched it. They finally went ahead and finished everything. They got everything certified after the crazy day yesterday. After they finished doing everything that they did, you know, half of the people who planned to join in with the whole objecting to votes, claiming it was fraud, half of them was just like, you know what, after the events today, we can't in good conscience, you know, even stand up here and do that to the American people. So, you know, we good. Because of that, multiple of the motions, you know, didn't pass. They mentioned them, but it was like, do you have what you need? You don't have what you need. We can't entertain it. Let's keep it moving. So, yeah, 2:40 a.m. Central Time, 3:40 a.m. Eastern Time. Biden and Camelot were certified officially as next president, next vice president.
And that's why today, Orange Man came out and basically conceded.
Right. So the theory with that is, if you look at the position that he's in now, he out of options, right? So his people have been, you know, first they pumped up all these court cases that they lost in all these different states. You know, they went 1 in 62, 1 in 63 in court cases, from low courts up to the Supreme Court. They lost big time. They got laughed out of court in most places.
Where the one at?
The one that they won actually wasn't even a win. It was kind of like that court, and I think that might have been in Pennsylvania, where the court was like, we'll entertain this, but we're not gonna do nothing with it. So it kind of allowed them to move it on to the next step, so they can then laugh at it and be like, get the fuck out of here with this. That was the only one that they actually won. Everything else never even moved anywhere past the first step.
It went from local to appellate,
right?
Basically.
Right. Appellate, then whatever it is for appeals. Well, that is, I think it would be the appellate court. I think there's one more other federal court in between there before you get to the Supreme Court. But they got all the way up to there, and I mean, even Supreme Court, and that was a big blow because, you know, Trump counted on that. You know, that's what they had been working on all these years, is getting all these Supreme Court justices and all these federal judges in place just for this fact. So if he got caught up doing impeachment, or he, you know, the election was close enough for him to call it as a dispute, he felt like, well, I can go to my people who would owe me because I helped them get put in place, put them in position. And, you know, all of them pretty much was like, nah, you lost, player.
So speaking of that, where do you think all these resignations are coming from? They trying to save face so they can go corporate.
It's an easy exit, man. A lot of these people have been looking for an exit for months now. You know, the writing has been on the wall. If you First of all, the writing was on the wall after the election the weekend after November 4th. So what was that, like November 8th or 9th or something like that? You know, we went through the whole week of following results until everybody finished all their counts and everything else. So anybody with common sense knew, okay, at this point it's over with. Like, no matter what any of these weirdos or these conspiracy theories, is over. They won. Now it's time to start looking. My understanding is that a lot of political people in government who are in those political appointed jobs, they start actually looking the summer before the actual election. So back in June, July of 2020, a lot of them appointee people would have started looking in the event that our person loses. We know the next person gonna come in, put their people in.
They gonna clean house.
We need to start looking for somewhere to land at. But obviously, everyone who's worked for Trump throughout his administration has not been able to successfully find a job unless they go to a Fox News or one of these other crazy conspiracy networks.
I mean, they was all millionaires anyway.
Well, not all of them. That's the thing.
Okay, a lot of the key players, maybe I should say.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the people who names we hear on a regular basis, they're gonna be straight. They already have money, or they can go out and be consultants or something crazy like that. But some of your lower, like some of your just regular staff people, like all of his press people.
How many he's been through?
He's on number 3 or 4 right now. But
speaks as press secretary.
The press secretary. You had Spicer, then you had Huckabee, and then you had interim. Or no, you had Scaramucci. He lasted, for what he lasted, a week, a few days or whatever.
He lasted about 3 press conferences.
Right. So yeah, he's on his 4th press secretary, and Scaramucci, he was rich. He was a little con man. He had some little business and shit going, but I mean, he's a millionaire. Spicer probably, all of them, were doing good for themselves. None of them gonna be broke.
Right.
But they're not.
That's what I'm saying. Like they gonna fall up.
Right. But I mean, they're not gonna really be able to work high profile jobs no more. I mean, it's like, think about yourself now. Like, you can navigate, work in corporate America and everything else, but you fuck up and work for the wrong company, and now it's like, well, you got to go back to work in the call center, essentially. So that's kind of where they at.
Damn, put me in a box.
That's how it is for them, man. But you got a lot of those people who we don't know. The names of people we don't know, just regular staff. There's people who got to write, bills, or people who got to make copies and get coffee and shit like that. A lot of them been looking for a place to land, and it's like, oh, you work for Trump? We cool. We ain't hiring no more. So
we full.
Right. So they saying, actually, I just read something tonight. How they be leaking stuff to the press, saying there's a lot of people depressed because they haven't been able to find a job. They don't know if they're gonna be able to get a job. So a lot of them gonna have to actually switch careers. You're gonna have some people coming to work with you who gonna be like, oh yeah, I was in DC, at the White House.
I'd be like, all right, cool. I work from home. No, I don't accept friend requests. You said you had a theory about where all this was going. Let me give you my theory. Okay. My theory is that this was a test run.
Yes, that's very much my theory.
Okay. Now you get the details. That was just my theory.
What we didn't see is we didn't see all the tactical stuff. We didn't see them take hostages. We didn't see them do none of the crazy stuff. So if we look at what the cats who was gone kidnap Big Rich in Michigan, what they have, I mean, they was pretty sophisticated with their little operation and what they wanted to do. We saw none of that with this. We saw what they call the man or the woman who ain't had no legs, the chicken nugget, the boneless wing.
The boneless wing.
There's been so much inappropriate shit, but it'd be
apparently that was 2 years ago. So that was
the
whole video.
Oh, that was what the handicapped people got like twisted up.
I don't care. That shit was funny.
It was actually funny, but yeah, I mean, you saw stuff like that. You saw these people run up in there, they had no intentions of covering their face. You got them using excuses like, oh, well, it's our building. We thought we were able to just, kind of go up in there as we please. You got the one chick who they didn't put to the Animaniacs, the one who was like, she got maced. Like, well, why did you run up in there? It's a revolution. Like it's been so much laughable for black
You
folks.
you had Meemaw. Don't forget about Meemaw.
Oh my God, yes, the one who like who let this evil genius in,
This is who infiltrated the system.
right? But because of that and what we saw, and with the congressman, like the active congressman, whatever else, this had to be a test run for the people who really want to cause and create some havoc, to kind of see like, okay, this is what the security is gonna look like. This is what the protocol is. But if that's the case, though, did they really learn anything from the situation?
No.
It's clearly an inside job, right? It's clearly like these people had a lot of help being able to coordinate this.
Yes, especially timing, and
Right.
you can go in this way. They're gonna just open the barricade this way. That's Meemaw. I just text you Meemaw. But like you say, I don't. This was almost the equivalent of the third preseason game in NFL. These aren't the people that ever make the team,
Right.
But they don't know the offense either.
Right. Exactly. Because I mean, they're even talking about their stories now. A couple of days ago, where the Pentagon declined giving Capitol Police or the National Guard, they declined giving them certain gear, like riot gear and stuff like that. Like it's just like a lot of stuff that was kind of weird, but didn't really mean nothing. That they're
Until
starting
it happened.
Yeah, they're starting to kind of like add up to a big picture. Like, okay, there might be somebody who's a little bit higher than the Proud Boys, or whatever the fuck they call themselves, who organize and plan this. So they said that DC AG pretty much said that Trump and his people, they're not out of the water because of his position. Anything else, he will be looking at what involvement they had, in whether it was just inciting them to go down the street, because he did tell them to go down the street and fight for me or whatever else, or whether it was, deeper than that, because he met with the Proud Boys leader a month ago or several weeks ago. And yeah, I mean, it's been a lot of stuff that at the time didn't really mean anything, that now with the events of everything taking place, it's starting to make things look a little bit more crazier. So, but yeah, but I agree with you. I think this was a test run. I think it was a test run for the people who really want to get in and cause some havoc to do so. And I think you'll see those people try to make their move between now and the inauguration.
Wrap it up, man. I don't know. I ain't got nothing else. I'm done with my jokes. I got some silly shit I'm gonna post when I post this. So
I mean, just to wrap it up, I mean, we saw Trump today give his statement. We saw him concede, which is something we thought he would never do. But realistically, he had to, right? He in trouble of potentially being. He got a good chance of being removed before he can pardon himself or any of his family members for anything he's done. So he got to chill. He got to chill until he can at least do that, which is the reason why I think they was able to convince him, go out here, read what's on this teleprompter, keep your mouth shut, don't add anything, don't tweet nothing, and go sit the fuck down for the next 13, 12 days until you can, slide past all this. But
well, his Twitter got deactivated for 12 hours.
It got deactivated for 12 hours. Supposedly he's indefinitely banned or suspended from the rest of social media until
the inauguration.
Right, until right before or after the inauguration.
Right.
Because they don't want him inciting any more bullshit.
Well, what do you think is do you think he's out the water with, just the New York shit? Because he's got a lot of charges building up.
He got a lot of charges. He got tons of charges in New York. New York HE wanted to get him. The SDNY, which is federal, which is Southern District of New York. I mean, he might be able to sidestep some of those cases because they're federal cases. He got this shit that just happened yesterday with the DC and everybody else who's going to prosecute on it. He didn't already move to Florida. I'm sure, he can kind of boss them around, move them around down there since they, loyal Republican loyalists. But I mean, he got all kinds of shit in Iraq. Iran have released arrest warrants for him. I mean, we're probably never going to turn over an ex-president to a foreign country to be extradited. But I mean,
but that's the shit we do.
That is the shit we do. But he got to be careful though, because even though we don't turn him over, he decide he want to try to go to Scotland or something, pop up and
get snatched.
Scotland Yard or whoever they are, Interpol fuck around and be like snatch his ass up. So who knows, man? I mean, he not out of the water yet. He got a lot of liability left, which is why he went so hard, which is why all this is taking place. If he didn't have all this liability, we wouldn't even be here. We wouldn't be having this conversation. He'd be like, fuck it, I'm gonna go start my new TV station up, make a whole bunch more money, pay my debt off, and be rich and laugh at y'all. But because he got all these potential court cases coming up, he got all these bills that are gonna come due, all these billions of dollars that he owed that's coming due as soon as he becomes a citizen again. He ain't trying to face all that, man. He's trying to delay that as long as he possibly can.
Well, that's it. Politics ain't hard. Vanilla ISIS. Osama bin Karen. It's been real, man. Thanks for all this knowledge you dropped. I'm Do Rag Dub. That's FCC. Yo.
Out.